Hey guys, Jack here, and we have another Premier League weekend to talk about. It's a very busy week now because all the clubs have European football now in the next 7 days. We've seen during the week that Arsenal and Man City drew their matches, and tonight, as I'm recording this, Villa, West Ham, and Liverpool are going to be playing their European games. So the main match that we're going to be talking about today is going to be between two European sides. We're going to be talking about Arsenal versus Aston Villa. Let's jump into it. This match is going to be taking place at the Emirates, and the last time these two teams met, it was a 1-0 win for Aston Villa. And while they did incredibly well in that match, there was a few kind of flaws in their game. In particular, their high line was exposed a few times. And we saw how, if you remember the highlights, Emiliano Martinez made a lot of big saves. He didn't make loads of saves, but the saves he did make were crucial. And I think Arsenal arguably could have gotten at least a draw from that game. And another thing they had, like that Villa had, was that they had a full set of their team. They had a full squad. And while they were playing the Conference League, the fatigue didn't set in, and they didn't have a lot of injuries that they have now. With Villa, they have struggled now in recent weeks. Their like form in the league has been patchy at best, and they have suffered a lot of key injuries, particularly to the likes of Boubacar Kamara. And they really do miss him. They really miss that kind of that rock in front of the defense. And while they still play with their high line, the fact that they don't have that to screen them, to prevent any through balls, like they've struggled a lot with that. Because while Douglas Luiz and John McGinn are very capable of playing that kind of deeper role, it's not their best role, and they've been exposed a few times now in recent weeks. We've seen how the likes of Brentford, who have a lot of pace going forward, can really get in, get bypass that midfield. And in this match, they won't have Douglas Luiz, who is an incredible danger from set pieces, particularly his delivery. And you've seen how in numerous occasions that he can really either just go for an Olympico, like we saw with James Ward-Prowse last week, or just has a dangerous ball put into the box. And we have to recognise that Villa are going to be playing in the Europa Conference League tonight as I'm recording this. They're playing Lille, and that's arguably the most difficult matchup that they could have in this competition. Lille are doing incredibly well for the second half of the season. They are currently fourth in the league, and they're pushing for those Champions League spots in Ligue 1. So Villa don't have an easy match in this regard. They are going to need to be on their front foot for this match, because while they are at home at Villa Park, they're going to have a big turnaround to go from Thursday to Sunday back to Thursday, while Arsenal have a bit of an extended break. Arsenal have a good challenge here against Villa, because while they didn't play like for like with Bayern Munich, there's a few similarities with their game, particularly how they were able to nullify the likes of Saka, Martinelli and Havertz. And I presume Arsenal will play a similar style, but we could see a few players being rotated in, particularly the likes of Tomiyasu, Trossard, Gabriel Jesus, because obviously they're going to need to rotate for their match when they go to Bavaria. If you watch the match during the week, they really, they were quite comfortable in terms of maintaining possession. They held the ball quite well, but they just couldn't get into the final third. And the rare occasions that they did, well, mostly towards the second half of the match, they were just nullified. And credit to De Ligt and Dyer, they did well in those regards. But in the first half, you saw how they were able to cut through them a few times. It was just only until they had to, they fell behind. And one of the key flaws in why they fell behind was that they made mistakes. And we saw this last year where it was a few injuries that cost them, and because they were bringing in players that were still cold and lacked a bit of sharpness, they cost a few goals and ultimately potentially the title for Arsenal last season. But this season is different, and they have a full besides Julian Timber, they have a full squad. Granted, a lot of those players aren't sharp, but they do have a full squad to choose from. And I think Arteta will need to utilise it a bit in this match, whether that is to rotate or to just swap out a few players for this game. Either bring them on later on and that thing just to rest them for midweek, because this isn't a big game for them because they're currently top of the table. They want to maintain that spot, and against Villa, who have shown to be really good against the bigger sides, can prove to be a danger to them. And while they haven't been in the best form this week, this last few weeks, they still are a threat. We saw that against City a couple of times where they were caught in the break, and John Duran pulled off a brilliant counter-attacking goal. And we need to see that Arsenal are vulnerable. We saw with the mistakes during the week that David Raya rushed out. That led to Gabriel panicking, which then saw Gabriel give away the penalty for the go-ahead goal for Kane and Bayern. So they are prone to mistakes, and especially in high-stake matches. So it's going to be important that Arsenal develop the mindset, and either working with their sports psychologists or just as a group collectively understand that they shouldn't be putting so much pressure on themselves, that if they allow themselves to express themselves, that they could, they can beat anyone on their day. And we could see that next week, when they're at their second leg against Bayern. But right now, they're going to have to focus on this match, against Villa, and it's going to be a difficult task for them because while Villa are depleted, they are very effective at times, especially when you see the likes of Leon Bailey, Diaby, and Watkins, who look set to return full of fitness. If Arsenal want to pick up a win from this match, they're going to need to look to exploit the high line that Aston Villa have. And while Aston Villa have been incredibly good at catching them offside, they do have flaws, particularly in their back line, because while they have a lot of decent players, the likes of Longley, Pau Torres, and Ezri Konsa, they are still vulnerable on the break, because Konsa, while he's done incredibly well at right back, he can be exposed, and it's been happening a few times these last few weeks. And with the injuries that they have, like Longley and Torres, they're quick enough, but if you put them against the likes of Martinelli or Trossard or even Saka, they can be got at. So I think Arsenal need to look and just be very precise with their through balls or over top passes. So whether that's allow Zinchenko to come in and be able to play those passes, or allow Rice a bit of freedom to take the ball, turn, and just play it across. I can imagine Martin Odegaard to start this game and to be more of a kind of quarterback role where he'll drop in and look to play those kind of patches to the wings. And I wouldn't be surprised if Gabriel Jesus starts this match and he'll start drifting out wide and cause a bit of chaos within the back line. Because I wouldn't be surprised if Unai Emery has, specifically marked maybe Havertz or Saka or Martinelli or Trossard and just how to cope with them. But if you're playing a very fluid front line, that could really open up space for Arsenal. While Villa I would say, need to play a bit more on the back foot and just play on the counter, because we've seen how Saliba and Gabriel were able to lock down Holland, and De Bruyne was completely nullified in their last match. So, when they played against Arsenal. So I think they need to be, again, similar to Arsenal, be really clever with their movement, particularly if Diaby or Bailey play. Granted, they're going to be a bit more fatigued than Arsenal because of their midweek fixture. But I can imagine that they will still be up for this game. They'll be amped for it. And Unai Emery is an experienced manager, especially in European competition. He'll know exactly what to do in terms of loading the players with with instructions, or how to cope with the Thursday fixture congestion. So it could be all up in the air in this match. When I come to think of the scoreline, Arsenal have the upper hand here, obviously being at home, have nearly a full squad to select from, and they have a lot more time to rest. While Villa, they are missing the likes of Douglas Luiz through suspension. John McGinn is still picking up, I think he's just returning from a suspension. And obviously, like I said earlier, Kamara is out, and they're going to be missing a few of those players. Even Manny Cash, who has done reasonably well at right back. So I can imagine that Villa are going to just be a bit more depleted in this match. And I think that's going to cost them in this match. So ultimately, while I do think Arsenal are not going to have an easy game with this, they're going to be pushed in this match. I just think that Arsenal are going to get the result in the end. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win to Arsenal. So on each side of me, I'm going to have the predictions for the rest of the Premier League. And one of the things I want to say in particular is that probably the other big match in this game is between Newcastle and Spurs. And with Newcastle, they have struggled a lot with injuries and stuff, but in recent weeks, they've picked up a bit of form. And I think it's going to be an exciting game against Spurs, who are going to be away from home. But they've shown that with the likes of Werner, Son, Johnson, they have a lot to, going forward. But can they nullify Newcastle, who have still the likes of Gordon, Barnes come off the bench, Isak, of course. And we also have to look at towards the bottom of the table, because it's now a lot tighter now. Everton are going to be playing Chelsea, which wouldn't be surprised if they pick up a result in that match. Obviously, Luton playing City, which is big. And then we also have Burnley and Sheffield United hoping to get something from their matches. I don't think they will, as you can see from the scorelines, but I do imagine that they're going to make it a difficult task, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how these last few weeks turn out, because with the relegation battle, it's just crazy how, while they're so far away, there's still the slight chance that they could just drag it back, and it's the lowest points tally I remember in a long time for potentially going down, the highest points, because usually you'll have one or two dead and buried teams, but instead there's not really anyone that's kind of gone yet. It could be decided here, but we just got I'm really looking forward to seeing how it concludes. So that's gonna be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you liked the video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, take care.